At 5:43 p.m. on March 30, 2026, CBS News published a 4-paragraph report that exploded in every military newsroom around the world in less than 6 minutes. The source was anonymous. The information was accurate. Hundreds of U.S. Special Operations Forces, including Navy SEALs and Army Rangers, had arrived in the Middle East and were already in the region. Alongside them, thousands of Marines and paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne Division. CENTCOM declined to comment. The Pentagon declined to comment. The White House said only that it is the Pentagon's job to make preparations to give the Commander-in-Chief maximum option. Translating the diplomatic jargon into plain English, the Navy SEALs were already in the theater, and nobody was going to confirm where. The presence of hundreds of Special Forces operators in the Iranian theater, confirmed by multiple sources to the New York Times, CBS News, and the Washington Post on the same day, represented the most significant transition in Operation Epic Fury since its first day. For the first 4 weeks, the war had been fundamentally an air and naval campaign. F-18 Super Hornets, F-35C Lightning IIs, B-2 Spirits, and B-21 Raiders had conducted more than 11,000 combat sorties against Iranian targets. Tomahawks had been fired from destroyers and submarines in the waters of the Persian Gulf, the Arabian Sea, and the Mediterranean Sea. The damage to the Iranian military apparatus had been, in the words of General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, unprecedented in the history of modern air power. But no American soldier had set foot on Iranian soil, until now. The 3 specific missions that sources cited for the Special Forces' presence were each individually capable of reshaping the course of the war. Mission 1: Opening the Strait of Hormuz. A ground operation by Special Forces against the IRGCN's coastal mining facilities, drone control centers, and anti-ship missile depots along the Iranian coast could physically eliminate Iran's ability to close the strait even after its main weapon systems had been destroyed by air power. This was the operation that the world's merchant marine, Lloyd's of London insurers, and Gulf oil ministers wanted to happen more than anything else on the planet. The strait had been closed for 30 days. 21 million barrels of oil per day were not flowing. Each day of closure cost the global economy an estimated $3.4 billion in direct and indirect losses. Mission 2: Karg Island. The island that processes 90% of Iran's oil exports, generating $60 billion annually for the regime's war budget, had been deliberately spared strikes in the first 30 days. Trump had threatened to attack it in multiple posts on Truth Social. A Special Forces operation on Karg would not only mean destruction of infrastructure, it could mean capture and physical control of the island, turning Iran's main economic asset into a hostage in American hands. Mission 3: Iran's enriched uranium stockpile. This was the mission no one wanted to name aloud, but which everyone in Washington knew was the ultimate objective of the war. Iran possessed, according to IAEA estimates from January 2026, approximately 182 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60% and smaller quantities enriched to 90%, the weapons-grade threshold. The material was distributed across multiple facilities, including the Tanz, Fordo, and additional locations whose existence was known to American intelligence but not publicly disclosed. A Special Forces operation to locate, map, and potentially remove or destroy this enriched material would be the most dangerous and consequential mission in the modern history of American special operations. More dangerous than Operation Neptune Spear, which killed bin Laden. More consequential than any operation executed by JSOC since its creation in 1980. The supporting infrastructure that had arrived with the SEALs and Rangers revealed the scale and type of operations planned. MC-130J Commando IIs, the long-range Special Forces insertion and extraction aircraft, had been spotted at Incirlik and at bases in the United Arab Emirates. MH-60M Black Hawk and MH-47G Chinook helicopters, modified for Special Forces operations, the same models used in the mission that killed bin Laden, had been unloaded from the USS Tripoli and pre-positioned in undisclosed locations. High-speed RHIB vessels and combat mini-submarines, the dry combat submersibles used by the SEALs for maritime insertion, had been seen in sealed containers being unloaded at friendly ports in the region. The equipment set was unambiguous. This was the cargo of a force that planned to enter hostile territory by air, by sea, and potentially by both simultaneously in multiple locations coordinated to precise time windows. Iran was prepared. The spokesman for the Iranian parliament, Mohammad Baghir Ghalibaf, declared that Iranian forces were awaiting the arrival of American troops on the ground, a statement that oscillated between bravado and disturbing tactical candor. The IRGC had maintained infantry reserves in the coastal provinces of Bushehr, Hormozgan, and Fars specifically for counter-infiltration operations. Sabarin units, the Iranian equivalent of the Navy SEALs, had been dispersed in a counter-insurgency pattern at vulnerable coastal points. Improvised minefields had been detected by American ISR along approach routes to key beaches near Bandar Abbas and Keshem Island. Iran knew the Americans were coming, and it had decided not to retreat from the coast, but to wait, turning every meter of Iranian sand into a potential killing zone for the first Special Forces operator to set foot on it. Hours later, CENTCOM announced that early morning airstrikes had destroyed multiple coastal missile launch sites along the Hormozgan coast. The phrase coastal launch sites is operational language for the same types of facilities the SEALs had been sent to destroy on land. The question wasn't whether the mission had been authorized. The question was whether Trump would admit it had been executed before or after the April 6th deadline. Stay tuned, because in Special Forces operations, official confirmation always comes after the mission has already happened.